So I got myself in kind of a gridlock because I got a lot of material building up from inside the house that I'm going to reuse, and it's just kind of getting in my way, and I had to think about it a lot. So I have things that I'm going to put back into the house once it's ready, but I can't function really. I don't really have a place to work on anything, so I had to debate about it and really figure out what to do. So I decided to make a shed, a little more elaborate shed than just a little shed like that one. I want a little more substantial. Perhaps even you could even stay in it, sleep in it, or whatever. So shop, shed, tiny house type of thing. I had to get inventive because I have wood that I got for free, and these telephone poles you could find for cheap or really free sometimes. You could see utility workers on the road. Sometimes they pull the old ones out. Usually they just give them away for someone who wants to tow them away. So my dad did that. I found these for free. Someone just is taking down their fence, and these pressure treated lumber was just perfect. These were in the ground for years, so I know it's going to be fine in any kind of wet stuff. So I know I could use that. It's probably going to use them as floor joists or something like that. And here's another find at a lumber yard. They had these laying around their shop area, and they just said, here, take it all for free. So I'm going to have to get inventive, but there's plenty of wood here to work with, and including this OSB type, really thick. It's like 1.5 inches or something. Use it as subfloor or something. So this is going to be interesting, but a lot of free wood to work with. Kind of makes me excited. I mean, just kind of get inventive. I have plenty of wood to just use whatever, so I'm going to get the foundation on there, platform and everything, and I'll just kind of build up from there. But I know I could at least get the frame from the materials I have, and I'll free up my garage. So since I haven't done this before, I needed to get a picture what I was thinking with the materials that I have. I may not end up with this design, but I just needed to get at least an idea of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to have a pillar foundation with concrete, and I needed to get at least 4 feet down with the footings down below. That's all I really know at this point. The other materials on top can range from boards to these pillars that I'm showing here from the telephone poles. And I would have to combine some techniques from building a cabin. I would have to notch them out just like a cabin would. This program that I'm using is called SketchUp. You can get this online. I think they give you a free trial, then you have to pay for it later, I think. I also use SketchUp in one of my earliest videos on this channel. I used it for a shipping container design. Using SketchUp can get pretty elaborate. You can get designs that look really good. But there's also a house design program called Sweet Home 3D that's very user friendly. Even beginners that have never used a program like this, they can learn it pretty well in a good 1 or 2 days. My sister started using this and was starting to design an interior for converting her garage into a living space. And she really loved this because she was able to put out into kind of a virtual reality of what she was thinking. And this gives you a good picture of what will work and what doesn't. And it'll prevent some problems in the future. I don't use this a lot because I don't do a lot of building, but I decided to use this program to at least get the foundation into my head. I'm just looking for a little inspiration here to set the parameter up in the foundation, and I had desires for this foundation to go a couple feet out longer than that, but I thought, well, I'm just going to use the materials I've got and it helps me anyways because these will act as good beams and they're not going to be extending too much, but they're solid beams. They're definitely going to hold this thing. It's probably overkill, but kind of like to default to overkill. But this is what I started for the first corner, and this is me starting to understand the whole concept of how construction works and everything. I know a lot of people know this stuff already, but it's really the first time I've really gotten into it. And so this is the cornerstone, chief cornerstone, just like Jesus. So this is basically where you start out from. Once you know where your cornerstone is, you could solidify that, get it situated so you know where you're going to start from. And then from there, you know exactly how to measure. You branch out from there to make it square, to make it perfectly measured. And you could have a reference point for all of the other foundation points. I could also still do a porch area and then have a second story or a loft area that kind of hangs over the little porch area, so it could still extend. But I just have to kind of get a vision or feel of what it's doing, what materials I have, and I just kind of sit there and think about it, and then I make the next step. Well, I finally got it to the depth that I needed to. That's 4 feet. That was really discouraging to try to get to because I have limited tools, but this thing saved my life for that project. I got 6 more holes to do. It takes a lot of work, but I mean, it's a way to do it. I don't have an auger or anything. I tried to make that footing a little wider, so it kind of has like an elephant print type of thing. And then the pillar will be just like a 12 inches in diameter, and it'll come up just where the surface is, and then that's the highest point for this pillar. So the other pillars are going to have to stick up out of the ground a little bit to make it level, because this ground goes down a little bit. But I noticed that this dirt I'm using, I'm going to keep pushing towards where the lower part is, and that might just take care of a lot of the unevenness of the ground. I don't think this floods. I haven't seen it really fill up with water. If it does, then this dirt will help just kind of keep it out, and then either run around, or it'll just kind of keep the water up there more. This last winter was really long and it was really cold, and so that caused the frost line to get deeper and deeper as the cold was just extending into the spring. And it was so cold that it was just getting, there were so many broken pipes and water mains and everything in town, so much construction of repair, and I knew that I just have to get under the frost line, get my footing at least under that, and then I'll feel a lot better about that. I know it's just a pain in the butt here in Iowa to get it that deep, but foundation is just the most crucial thing, and I'm trying to just do overkill with this, with at least the foundation and these floor and the floor joists and all that. I just want to get it. So if the building itself with all these materials, if that starts breaking apart or whatever, then the foundation is good and I could put something else on top of it and rebuild easily. So I'm just thinking long-term upgrading later, I guess. So here's my update. Here's my cornerstone, corner post, and I'm going off from there. I'm going to do 6 of them, 6 posts. I've been debating whether or not I want to just use those telephone poles and stick them down there and put them on some concrete footings at the bottom. And I keep deferring back to the concrete poles idea, because it's going to be more expensive, but it's just going to be better. You know, these are going to last a long time. They've been in the ground for years anyways, but I mean, they're not immortal. I mean, they're gonna, you could see here where the ground line is, that it does decay a little bit. It's just concrete, just seems a lot better for a longer lasting. I've been running into roots, and I've expected that. None of them have really been too troublesome, except for maybe this one. This is one that was branching off and had a couple big boulders I had to work through, so I'm almost done with this one. This one was where that big root was, and I decided to dig out a little bit this way and then cut it off up here, so that if it starts to re-sprout and grow, it has some distance, and I'm just hoping that it's not going to wrap around the poles, which it might, but I thought if I dug back deeper, then it'll have a better chance. I might even take that big boulder and put it in that place, so it'll just kind of divert the root off as it grows. I don't know if that'll work or not, but I do have some smaller roots down there that I have to deal with. Not too worried about those though. I figure once I cut them off, and I figure that tree is already pretty mature anyway, so the roots aren't going to be like getting really, really fat anymore. So that's where I'm at, and I did have a neighbor that offered some more wood, some really good 6x6 treated lumber, so I might scrap the idea of the foam poles or whatever else and use those. But I'm kind of learning as I go. But the only thing I know is that just make sure this is done right, the foundation. Everything else can be replaced or repaired or whatever, but make sure the foundation is tough and can't go wrong after that. This here is the progression of the pole foundation or the post foundation, and this is the progress I've made so far. And I have a couple missionaries from my church helping me out here. So Elder Shelton and Elder Bodley. So we're all learning together basically, because I've never done this before, they haven't either, so we're just kind of doing it piece by piece. Basically what I've learned is just use these strings to get an idea of where you want to go with the pole or the posts, and then this gives you a picture of basically the layout. And as I mentioned before, using one of these corners as a cornerstone, to once you set this one, then you know exactly where the rest of them are going to go. Another person from my church let me borrow this cement mixer, and I have about 42 bags of concrete, and I probably wouldn't have done this project without that, because that's a huge undertaking just for one person just doing them by itself. So we'll keep going. Today is doing the footings day, and I just have to get several inches of concrete at the bottom of each of these, and then I'm going to put some of this rebar sticking up from the bottom, so then when I put my posts in, this will just help it tie together with the post concrete in the post. So I got some help today. He's coming back. He's Steve from my church, and he's gonna give me some advice here. He's been kind of, with his experience, he's been giving me some pointers, which is good because I was pretty nervous about doing this stuff on my own, and I know I could have done it, but I'm really nervous about this concrete work because I've never done it before, and it's permanent once you do it, so I don't want to do an expensive screw up job So I'm just going to do probably a couple bags each footing, and then that's all I'll do today, but that'll just kind of get me going on this. And then you wouldn't believe how much thought I had to go through with this. I mean, it's hard to tell on this video, but there's a lot of days in between. It's been more than a month since I started digging these holes. So it's just me trying to figure out where I can get the equipment and just the basic stuff, like, you know, a metal cutter for the rebar, and just knowing exactly what to do. So I still have yet to figure out how I'm gonna do the floor joists on top and the framing for the base. So I've yet to figure that out, but this will be a fun project. I love being a little scared to do something. That means I'm learning. So whenever I feel a little nervous about it, that means I'm pushing beyond my present boundaries, which is a little scary, but I like it at the same time. So we'll see how this goes. So this is what I was talking about with the footing down there, and then just putting that rebar right there, so the concrete post will just, when you set the concrete form around it, it'll have a way of tying it together with the footing. Oh, we got all the footings in there, along with their little rebar in there, and all the holes. So I'm very happy I got this far, and all the measurements look right so far. So it's good to get a little help when you do this part. I'm very grateful for that. So that's a big step. I have to wait for that to set up and do the rest of it.